We can put it in. Hey, wait. Why does it say 7 minutes in? I don't know why it says that, but we're just starting.
2021.
Yeah, 2021. Welcome to the show.
Let's go.
Number 22. It's pretty amazing that we're up to 22 and fast. I don't know why I can't hear you in my headphones. I don't get it, but it's annoying me a little bit. I want to see if I can fix that audio. My mic. Let's see if that fixes it. There we go.
That was it?
Yeah, Coach D. Now I can hear you.
That was the issue.
Now I can hear you real good. Right in my ears.
Good.
The way I need in stereo. So we got a lot going on.
A lot going on.
Yeah. Does it bother you that you have the logo on your side? I don't know how to fix that.
Daddy, Mommy's going to get a Pederson from Dunkin' Donuts.
Tell Mommy to get me a coffee. Here, Troy, here you go. Here you go. Use that.
Mommy, Daddy got some coffee.
Coffee. Come on, we gotta get a coffee. Gotta get it fired up.
Oh boy.
Last night, I gotta tell you something really interesting before we go into all this the coaching carousel thing here.
That's
last night when I went in, I was doing a couple of my my prospect podcast posts. When I did a couple of them last night, I had like 89 or 90 concurrent people. It was like late though. It was like volume's low. 11 o'clock at night, 11:30. Thought that was really interesting.
How many does it give you a breakdown of where people are in the country?
No, I'm just saying,
right?
Like right now we got like 50, you know. Hey. No, give it to me. Troy, I'm on a podcast. Give it to me, buddy. All right. So anyway, so I thought it was really interesting that time frame that there was a lot of people on there listening to it and watching it at that time. So I don't know. I don't know if that's that late at night is.
Well, I was thinking about like the breakdown, like maybe if it's West Coast, people are like look at the time, type of that type thing.
So let's talk about the wild world of college coaching and NFL coaching. Where do you want to start, college or NFL first?
It's brutal. Either way you look at it, it's brutal. That I guess we'll start. We could kind of start NFL, I guess, because this seems to be a trend. They've actually given a name to it, right? Black Monday, as far as the day after that Monday after the last day of the regular season. Brutal, just brutal. I mean, look, we know it's a high stakes job, but for this many guys to be out of work on a yearly basis, and you can kind of expect it to happen this day. It's I don't know really any other word to use other than brutal.
Well, so Doug Marone's out. Is Urban Meyer, and they say he's looking, according to Football Scoop.
Seems to be the trend. But what I did read is that he is asking for a heck of a payday. I don't think there's any specific numbers, but listen, if I'm him, why not? I'm going to ask for the whatever. You know what I mean? Like, look, you want me. So,
right.
Look, if it's not, why not reach for this? Why not just shoot for whatever? And if not, okay, I'm good, on Fox Sports Network or whatever, show he's on, I'm good doing that. But if you want me to do it, then this is what you're going to give me. Also, I know they're also looking for a GM. Is he going to be that? Is he going to be pseudo, is he going to get both? Because you got to understand something. When you're in college, you're basically you control everything. You control every aspect of your program. Now, when you go to the NFL, you're talking about GM, You're talking about people collaborating with you as far as the coach, unless you have that pull. So I would assume that he's looking for that. I think he wants total control. I think that's something he'll write into it if it's where it goes. But for me personally, I'd love to see it happen.
It's interesting. Belichick's making $12 million, Pete Carroll $11 million, Gruden $10 million, Sean Payton $9.8 million. So he'd be the highest paid coach in the NFL. The other thing is John Gruden brought in his own GM. Mixed results so far on that, right?
Right, Mike Mayock.
Yep. Would that be the same situation there? That seems to be more of a trend with a head coach having the opportunity to be not be the GM, but bring in a GM to his liking. It didn't pan out well at the Texans. So I think there's pluses and minuses to it. But obviously controlling your draft picks is a big deal, and Urban Meyer is definitely going to want control of that. I think, he's had success everywhere he's been. Why not try the NFL? What does he have to lose? Absolutely nothing.
Even if it doesn't work out, he's still going to be regarded as one of the best college coaches, in history, except he'll have a little blip on his radar as far as, okay, well, it didn't work for him in the NFL, but he was still one of the greatest college football coaches to go down. So, why not? Why not? And then, you're telling me that if this doesn't work out and then he's still going to have opportunities, there's no way someone still doesn't offer him a job back in college if it's really, if it's something that's that, if it doesn't work out, he's still going to have offers in college to go back to something that's, whatever. I just don't see – I don't see – the negatives don't outweigh the positives in my eyes. That's just how I look at it.
Who takes over the Jets? Adam Gase is out there. No surprise. Well, maybe a little bit of a surprise. Won a couple of games at the end, but
I think it would have been more of a issue had he won yesterday.
Yes, because then he could have said he was rolling a little bit.
The Jets have so many problems, when it comes to it. Just the roster itself, you know what I mean? Like, and look, is Adam Gase a part of that? Yes, I think so. Is he the total problem? No. I think if you give Adam Gase a little bit more to work with, maybe things aren't as bad. Look, it comes down to players, man. If you don't have players,
they have the big time GM Joe Douglas too. So,
they have a ton of cap room. They have the number 2 pick. And I think the Jets are compelling just because I don't know anywhere. I don't think they can get lower.
Eric Bieniemy seems to be
the lead. He's going to interview.
He's one of the leads there. Obviously, has a tremendous amount of success as the offensive coordinator. I do wonder: is he the play caller? I always knew Andy Reid.
I think he is the ultimate play caller, but I think Andy Reid does have some pull in there.
So Andy Reid doesn't play call anymore. He more kind of CEOs on this squad.
Hey, take a shot here. Hey, run it here. Hey, speed it up here. I think it's kind of one of those gigs.
Got it. Well, he's had a tremendous amount of success. He's going to have an opportunity to get a quarterback that style might be more like Mahomes and Fields. I don't know if they're going to go. I know the rankings of the quarterbacks are such, but I would think that if Bieniemy gets it, he's going to have to get a quarterback that fits that solid they run at KC because they put up a whole lot of points doing that. So, but I think that would be a good choice for the Jets. I think that I'd like to hear who the other choices possibly are. But he's someone that, after being the offensive coordinator of Colorado, where they were not good at all, he retooled himself, went to KC as a running back coach, developed, rebuilt that reputation, as an offensive guru. I remember him as being the running back of Colorado during their great teams back in the 90 time frame, and he was a Heisman candidate, and he played in the NFL, and he had like the biggest legs of all time. I think 36-inch thighs or something like that, and a 30-inch. At the time, he had like a 30-inch waist and 36-inch thighs. I don't know how you get 36-inch thighs. That's
He's short. Is he short?
He is short. Yeah, he's like 5'6". Was a great running back himself. So, but played in the triple option. Obviously, Rashawn Salam, I think, was after him. So they went more I with Rashawn Salam, if I'm not mistaken.
He's deceased.
Yes, Rashawn Salam is deceased.
He won the Heisman?
Yes, Rashawn Salam won the Heisman. Yep.
Heisman coming this week, virtual.
Virtual Heisman Trophy. Oh, boy. That sounds like a ton of fun. Hey, we're virtual. Where's our studio? It's virtual, baby.
Thank you for my Heisman Trophy, Ken. Hey, I appreciate it. I don't know.
No, who knows?
It's usually already happened, correct?
What's that?
I want to say that the Heisman Trophy is usually already awarded.
Usually December.
Late, right? This is late. It's usually pre-Christmas.
Oh yeah, it's definitely way later than normal. Maybe they were hoping that they would have a chance, So we'll see who the Jets come up with, and then you got Anthony Lynn fired over there at the Chargers. Mixed record there, I guess. The last
Justin Herbert's appealing, man.
Just wasn't they couldn't get to that. He had first year was good year, I think. Then he couldn't get to the next level, and then how it is the NFL. It's just like
gotta be tough too competing now that you're LA. You got the Rams in LA. You're playing at the same stadium. You know what I mean? You're no longer the San Diego Chargers. You're the Los Angeles Chargers.
Absolutely.
Which you're battling back and forth with that. It's just not as clear cut. And I don't know. The Chargers just always seem like that team that's always good, but they never go anywhere. No matter who the head coach is, no matter who's there. I just find that very interesting that they're always right there. They're always good, but they never get to that next level.
Yeah, I wonder who the candidates are for that position. Maybe I'm sure Bieniemy is a candidate there too.
You look at it. You got six NFL job openings right now. Three of which have went down since yesterday, right? So you had the Jets, Jags, and Chargers all based off of last night and today, and then the Lions, Texans, and Falcons that have happened earlier on in the year. So you got 6 NFL jobs open as of right now.
So according to, I don't even know what this company is. I've never even heard of them. Game House. Eric Bieniemy is the number one candidate for the Chargers. Brian Dable from Bills. Robert Saleh.
Yeah, he's a name. He's a name that's been one. The offensive coordinator from the Bills and the defensive coordinator from the Niners have been 2 names that have, as far as coordinators, that are kind of that second and third candidate behind, or 1A or 1B, 1C. I don't know.
Urban Meyer, and then they also list the defensive coordinator of the Colts, Matt Eberflus. So, some Urban's potential there. I think Bieniemy's landed on one of these two. So,
well, look, he's gonna land a head
he's
coach.
landed.
Look, there's 6 openings.
What job would you rather have, the Chargers or the Jets?
I like warm weather. But the challenge, I think the Jets are a longer term project, I think. You're not fixing this in one draft. You're not fixing this in 1 year. If he takes the Jets and in 1 year goes to the playoffs, wow. The Chargers are already right there. I think they just need a couple, something different to happen. I don't think you need to make as many moves as you would with the Jets. But the Jets have, all this cap room, draft picks. They have that stuff going forward. Now, I don't think they have anything on their roster other than maybe a left tackle and a defensive lineman. I think those are the only 2 positions you can really say, like, I have somebody. I think you need help in every other department. Whereas, you look at the Chargers, they got the quarterback. Justin Herbert proved this year he's the dude. You got Bosa on the D line. You got Keenan Allen at receiver. You know what I mean? Like there are things in place there. I think the Chargers you can win quicker, but I think the Jets, like, look, if you go down, if you ultimately take the Jets to the promised land, you'll be remembered forever. So I guess it goes into what your personality is and what you want to do. Looking at the track record of the Jets, that scares you a little bit because as far as the organization is concerned, they haven't exactly been the staple of what a good organization is. But I think that's also part of a challenge, So I'd probably go with the Jets, to be honest. I think I'd go with the Jets job.
All right. Well, that's interesting. I think the Jets draft pick wise are in a better situation, have more cap room. Maybe you get a champion quarterback. I don't know. I mean,
you do have to deal with the whole thing. Like, what do you do with Sam Darnold? That has to be something going in that you already know. Like, look, I'm either keeping this guy and we're doing something else with this number 2 pick, or I'm getting rid of him and we're using the number 2 pick on a quarterback. I think that's something going in that you need to know and ultimately be on the same page with the upper echelons in this program. Otherwise, that's not where I want to go. I mean, in your eyes, you got 6 openings. What's the most attractive job to you?
What's that?
You got a coffee.
Yeah, look at me. This is how you do the podcast right here.
Spoiled.
I did have to pay for it with my my card. Not that spoiled.
Well, I did pay for it this morning.
That's true.
And every other morning.
So thank you.
She's gonna come down here to clean.
So you got 6 job openings. What's the most appealing to you? You got the Jets, Jags, Lions, Texans, Falcons, Chargers. Rank them 1 through 6. Go.
So let's go through it again. The Texans.
You got the Jets, the Jags, Lions, Texans, Falcons, Chargers. 1 through 6, go. 1 being your most appealing.
I think the Jets is the best challenge. I would say. I would say Jets, Jaguars, Chargers, Texans, and I think Texans is a tough job because you're not the Cowboys.
But you have Watson. Look,
JJ's comments, Watt's comments last week made me think they need to overhaul as far as.
I think we both agree the Lions is the worst job.
The Lions is a difficult job, man. People don't want to live in Detroit, period. I mean, that's just how it is,
So we agree that's the 6th best job.
That's the 6th best job. People want to live in I guess it's Los Angeles Chargers now, but I don't know if you want to live in Los Angeles right now. So, I actually might, let me rethink this here. Let me just go. I'm
gonna make it easy. You said the Jets is number 1, right?
I'm going to retool this because I'm also going to think about financially and where you want to be right now. So,
well, financially, if you want to make the most money, you're going to the Jaguars.
I'm changing my mind. The Jaguars is a better job. The Texans is the 2nd best job. New York, then the Chargers. Who else we have?
Falcons, Lions.
I forgot. I didn't realize the Falcons was open. Let me go take one more shot at this again. Jaguars.
Jaguars number 1.
Falcons 2.
Falcons 2.
Texans 3. Texans 3. New
Jets
York
4.
4. Chargers 5, Lions 6. Falcons you can win right away. That's the reason why it's number 2.
Plus, you got Arthur Blank as your owner, man.
I think you win right away. You just got to fix a couple things. I think the Texans, you probably can win fairly quickly. But there is some overhauling that has to happen. Jaguars, I don't know if that's going to happen right away, but you're in Florida. You ain't got to wear a mask. Great place to be. So maybe, I don't know. Maybe you do have to wear a mask there. I don't know. You would know better than me from your family.
But remember, Jacksonville's a little bit different. Jacksonville's not so much Florida as it might be more Bama, Mississippi-ish, Georgia. Because you're north, you're in the panhandle. Like, you know,
Even better. Even better. Even better.
That too. Like, so you got it. The Jags, Falcons, Texans, Jets, Chargers, Lions.
Yes. And I think where is there the most potential to win? So that's the second question.
But here's the thing, win right away.
The most potential to be good.
I think if you're looking to win right now, you're taking the Falcons or the Chargers job.
I agree. I
think if you're looking for a long-term project, I think you go Jets or Jags.
Correct.
I think the Texans and the Lions have the hardest.
That's a tough job.
The Lions, no matter what. I can't ever remember.
Tough. If I were to rate toughest jobs 1 through 6, like 1 being the toughest job,
Lions,
and 6 being the easiest of those, Lions hands down is the toughest job, no doubt about it.
Being the head coach of the Detroit Lions may go down as one of the hardest jobs in all of sports.
Well, the Browns was the other tough job.
That's what was relatable.
But here's what's different about the Browns. I feel like
Cleveland fans just love that.
Yeah, fan base and attracting players to come there. I think Ohio in their fan base is much more attractive than the Detroit Lion fan base, just because even though the Browns fan base has been kicked in the teeth a lot,
they still love Cleveland.
They still love them. The Detroit Lions is way colder there.
They just hate Detroit.
Even though they do play indoors, it's just, you got to get out of your house. And if the team's not good, you're just not coming out of your house in that cold. That's just my opinion. It's so different from like Michigan and Michigan State football, where I just think that Michigan and Michigan State football are the big dogs in that state. And
right. College football outweighs pro football.
Even though the Lions as an organization has been around for, I think, a long time, right? So
they have never won anything.
No one's taking us up on questions today. Must have been a tough day back at work for everyone. Okay,
everybody's just going and being like, I made it.
Any
Plus, everybody's got their New Year's resolution going, man. They might be working out right now.
Well, I did an hour and 45 minutes yesterday on the bike.
How was that?
While watching my Cobra Kai episodes.
I finished it already.
I still have, I think, 2 left or 3 left.
So good.
It's good. It's really good. I like when he went to Japan. I loved it.
Phenomenal.
I loved it.
I've said it multiple times. The reason that show is because you're bringing back original people.
That's the whole key. Everyone wants to see those people, and when they see them, and the flashbacks are,
and now they can link them to the real person. Like, this is who really played this person. That attracts you even more.
That was yes. That made it even cooler. First of all, you get to see them 30 years from when they were,
and some look a lot better than others.
Actually, a lot of them look a lot better than I thought they would. I mean. I don't know if they told him, hey, man, you got 3 months to get into the best shape of your life. You're going on camera. I don't know if that's the case, because they all seem to be in shape, which makes me think that might have been the case,
But you also got to remember what the whole movie is based around what? physical activity, and that's they need to be in that. You know what I mean?
Right, they got to be in shape to be able to do the things they need to do. So it's fun. It's kind of like there's some there's serious things. They actually address some serious issues and stuff, but it's just also pure fun in the sense that like you're seeing these people that you grew up watching.
Right, such a relatable movie that everybody saw The Karate Kid.
Everybody saw Karate Kid.
Nobody ever said anything bad about The Karate Kid.
Someone might have, I don't know, but I didn't. I thought it was great, and I forgot it too. I don't remember it as well either, so it kind of brings it back. But
they're also smart in the fact that you can go and watch all those movies on Netflix.
Absolutely,
like that. There's a method, like there's big picture stuff.
Absolutely.
College
coaches, my man. College coaches, I guess. First of all,
what's a more attractive job, University of Texas or the Texans? Who has more pressure to win?
Ooh, well, they both have a lot of pressure to win because the pros, you have pressure to win, period. Like, there's no such thing as no pressure in the pros. So, I don't know. I might even say the pros always have more pressure because basically you could be fired. You could get the job. And if they don't like how it's working out that first year, they can get rid of you. You haven't had a chance to do anything.
Gone.
So I think the pros look. I think Adam Gase was doomed when he came into the press conference. Now, look, if he won, none of it would have mattered. But he came into the press conference with his hat on and covering his face.
Just weird.
I mean, you're in New York. You know what? You could probably get away with that at other places in the country. You can't get away with that in New York. So.
Now, I have heard already Adam Gase linked to Alabama offensive coordinator job.
Wow.
Also, Bill O'Brien.
For Alabama?
Yep.
That's interesting. I like how he does that stuff.
Scoops him up right away.
He says, listen, my booster's going to drop off for this one game $250,000.
In an Alabama bag.
It's going to be in a bag. And Troy, can you give it? Come on, I'll bring you back, Troy. Troy. All right, Yoda. Yes, Yoda. Come back. Hey, come on. So, like I said, $250,000 in a bag, sitting on the dock of this lake. You must be there by 3 p.m. one day after the game. Okay, no problem. Quick $250,000.
So, according to Football Scoop, O'Brien is, let's see, it says here, O'Brien is actually in Tuscaloosa right now. He was in Tuscaloosa yesterday and has remained in the Tides football complex today, meeting with Saban and other Tides staffers.
Wow.
Yeah.
What do you think they go through? Do you say, like, here's our terminology, here's your sets. Do you think you could call this?
Can you call this game this week?
Can you call? Yeah. Are you comfortable with this terminology? Blah, 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 blah. Like the guys up top are, going to help you with it. Can you do
it?
Or
do you go about it like, hey, like, do you just say, hey, look, if you want to call, like, this is what we call this, this is what we call this. So, maybe Bill O'Brien says, hey, I want this. And they say, that the staffers link it to the terminology. Okay, that's this. I don't know. Interesting. Or is this like a tryout? Like, let's see. I don't think he used the national championship as a tryout. Or hey, let's see how this goes. Not the time to do it. But if anybody could get away with it, it'd be Saban.
Anybody can get away with it. It's interesting. Well, by the way, Will Muschamp turned down the opportunity.
Yeah, turned down Texas.
He turned it down.
What I have heard is that I heard Sarkisian wants to take Kyle Flood with him to be his offensive coordinator.
Wow.
That's what I read yesterday.
Oh, man, Flood.
Because they had such a good relationship as far as being the O-line coach and the offensive coordinator. And obviously, I feel Sark probably feels like, hey, am I going to be able to do both here? At least if I have Flood with me and give him the title, I can still, float around and feel comfortable with him if I, but still have my hands on it.
Yep.
How about that? Kyle Flood from
Bama is the place to apprentice.
Yeah.
Because
look at those guys that just go in the, Butch Jones, head coach again, Lane Kiffin, head coach again. Kirby Smart, head coach. Mario Cristobal, head coach. Loxley, head coach. Who was the other dude that's at Colorado State or was at Colorado State? And then he was at McElwain or whatever, was at Florida. Now, head coach. Like, why not? Let's go. Go to Alabama, recharge your batteries, learn some more, learn from the best, and then go. Now, what I have heard is that he is not a big – look, he advocates for guys to go get jobs as far as Nick Saban, but don't raid my staff when you leave. So that's what I found interesting about him, with
taking Flood, maybe.
Flood being linked with Sark. He that must have been signed off by, obviously the big guy. Because he's not one of these all right, that's cool. Yeah, I'm glad you got this job, but you can't just take everybody. You're not taking your whole offensive staff with you. I need these guys.
I'll tell you what else. Going back to pros, I just saw that the Panthers are putting a request to interview the assistant GM, Jeff Ireland, for the GM job. That's the Saints assistant GM. He's great.
John Elway stepped down.
Oh, wow.
He's moving into a higher position within the
organization,
and somebody else will be the new GM for the Broncos.
That's interesting.
A position I think that they said he has had for 10 years.
It's so interesting every year that moves.
It's just like we talked about it earlier. It's just some of them are just so interesting.
And then the one that perplexes me is Doc Holliday getting let go. I mean, I guess the guy's only been in the
what I read was that came from above. That came from state governor or something.
Yeah, the governor or something.
Sorry, buddy, but I'm sorry. Is the head coach at Marshall University in West Virginia overshadowing you? Is he too big of a name for you?
I think it's that they feel like they think they get some bigger name. We talked about it. Do they go get a Byron Leftwich?
As an alum, and look, I mean,
is he too far above that as the offensive coordinator of, an NFL team?
I mean, he's the offensive coordinator for the Bucks. Tom Brady just threw how many touchdown passes at what age? He's doing something right.
Yeah.
He's kind of, he's a young.
Would you leave the offensive coordinator job of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers for the head job of Marshall if you were an alumni?
Depends on what my outlook was or what my goals were as far as me personally as a coach. Like we talked about earlier, Kellen Moore turning down Boise State and getting an extension with the Cowboys, right? So there's a young up-and-coming guy who could have went back to his college alma mater and, rode the wave and whatever. But he has said, look, I'm going to stay in the NFL. He obviously, in my eyes, he has he already knows he wants to be an NFL head coach. And he feels like the best way to do that is to continue being a coordinator in the NFL and then go from there. Plus, he also sees how rocky year one with the Cowboys was for McCarthy and feels like, if McCarthy wants to, if this doesn't work out next year, or it looks like this next year, maybe I can be the next Cowboys head coach. Right? So now if I'm Byron Leftwich, I don't know if I necessarily have that, what do I want to do? Do I want to go back to my alma mater where I'll be praised and ultimately, and it's a lower level kind of under the radar position, but if we do well, we could do some really good things? Or does he ultimately want to stay in the league and become, how much longer does Arians have? We know that he's had some health issues and maybe he's the next guy there. But then you're also looking at my defensive coordinator with the Buccaneers is Todd Bowles, a former NFL head coach. So are we both going to be going for this? Probably. Or is Todd Bowles up for another job? Who knows? For me personally, coming from where I went to high school and all that, the thought of going back and leading your alma mater is just something that in me is a little different. Tradition and all that stuff is big. So yeah, that would probably be something I would look to. But look, if I saw the writing on the wall, like if I'm Kellen Moore, I'm probably not going anywhere because I literally could be the Cowboys' next head coach, especially with what Jerry Jones has done in the past as choosing Jason Garrett as that next head coach, right? Wasn't that the same type of thing? He was on staff and then slid into that role.
Does he do that again?
All I know is Jason Garrett was probably pretty happy to beat the Cowboys yesterday.
Yeah, well, I mean, I don't know. I don't know if he does that again. It worked, but it didn't work the first time. So,
and it's kind of the same situation where you're looking at a younger guy, up and coming, offensive minded. Would they be calling it? Would it be the newest Jason Garrett?
What matchups? I mean, what college jobs? So Texas going to Sark. What does Sark have to do to get Texas football back to what? Let me put this back to what they think it should be, because I thought Tom Herman did a good job. What they think it should be, which is 10 wins every year plus.
10 wins, beat Oklahoma, and be in the Final Four.
What does he have to do?
He's got to recruit the hell out of Texas.
Texas has to have good recruiting. Are they not ranked high?
He has to get the number one QB in Texas to go to Texas every year.
Texas football recruiting. Texas players. This is the article that just came out 20 hours ago. I'll read this to you. Let's do. Oh, this is out of. It's supposed to be a version of 24/7 Sports. Just days before the. I'll pull it up so in case fans, not that they can see anything on. I guess they could if they put it on their TV, right? Because
you had some monitors.
Well, now I just put stuff on my TV from the computer,
right?
So you can then. Just days before recruits 21-20 class will sign national lieutenant. Texas Longhorn Athletics have released a statement for support of Tom Herman that was so tepid it needed immediate clarification. There's been a lot of speculation, blah, 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 blah. Okay, let's see. Hold on. Let me get right to the point in this here. Recruiting. Current players leave. Recruit players are leaving and recruits are looking elsewhere. Then, I guess the athletic director learned that some players currently on the roster were doing negative recruiting, telling some not to come to UT. It's not unusual for disgruntled outgoing players to talk negatively about a coaching staff they don't like, though. Recruiting issues were one of the factors. Fired, blah, blah, blah. 2022 class. The 2022 class, October decommitment. That's the number one player in the country of South Lake Carroll QB Quinn Ewers. A player considered potentially generation talent, not only represented Ewers, rescinded the vote of confidence Texas A&M They don't give us before it also destroy potential upside for the class. Yeah, you come. For the class. So that's really interesting. So I mean, are they going up like it's amazing that they're not only do they now have to have their ducks in a row from a recruiting standpoint, coaching and downing, but they also have to have the environment of their players under a certain level of control. That's tough. Meaning, if player, like, especially in this situation where probably a lot of stuff they're doing is virtual, that's how it could get away from you real quick. Like,
because you don't know what's going on or what's being said because you're not around.
You're not around players. Like, the thing that I think is the most important thing for all coaches is to be able to be around their players. If they're able to be around their players, then they can foster
your pulse.
You could explain things. You could have a conversation with someone something's not going well. You know, like that's
you can put out the fires before they start.
I mean,
guys can approach you and say, "This is what's going on." You know,
it's strange. You know, do you think football is more affected by this than other sports? Like, meaning, like, the time that you need to meet with your players in football, the meetings you have, film study.
I think yes, because there's so much more off the field that goes into football than any other sport.
Right.
Most other sports, you're playing games.
Right.
Every other day, every day, every 2 days. You know, football is once a week, no matter what. The amount of time you put into, you know, the other stuff off the field, not during game times, is just so much more than any other sport. That this stuff is what matters because of that. You know, that's why football is so unique. You're practicing all week for one game. You know, majority of your time is spent on a practice field, in a meeting room, in a weight room, somewhere other than on a field of play. You know, basketball, baseball, hockey. I mean, any other sport, lacrosse, you're competing, playing games on a regular.
Right. You can work the kinks out in the games.
You work that's part of it. You work kinks
football,
out.
You don't have time to work kinks out football, like you normally would.
That. Either on or you're not, man. You're either on or you're not. You're either prepared or you're not. You know, there's no other option.
Right. And not being in person with somebody, it's harder to rein somebody in who's kind of losing their way too, right? Someone has a hard time.
It's like having a conversation through a text message and not being able to display emotion.
Right.
Or an email. Sometimes the tones of things are misconstrued or misunderstood when you're just typing something rather than face to face, you know? So I think that is something
right. Robot to robot is not the ideal way.
When somebody sends you a text message with no exclamation point or like no punctuation. You know, and even that, or if somebody just says something in all caps, like all of a sudden it's like, whoa, you know, like that might be misconstrued.
No doubt.
That's why I think football is different. And I think this is a season, like, it's had some good as far as, you know, the use of technology and what we can do as coaches with that being said, but it's that face-to-face stuff, man, that you need to be able to do. You need to be able to have those conversations. You need to be able to look somebody in the eye. You need to be able to understand where they're coming from. And sometimes you can't do that, you know, through a screen or through just, you know, a text or an email.
Yeah. There's no doubt about it. You got to be able to see people.
Everybody as a whole.
It's about engagement.
As a whole.
it's about real engagement, about really being able to engage
Right.
someone and understand where they are. And once you do that, then you can see where they are about things and have a real conversation. It's tough when you're not seeing. So I think that some of these guys have been affected by that. And then if something happens and it gets spiraled, then whereas normally you can have a team meeting and bring them all in. Like, I don't think they're doing those as often as they normally would. Now, some places they are, right? Some places they are and some places they aren't. So my guess is most of the SEC, and I would guess most of the Southwest Conference schools probably were, because they're in states that are a little bit more, they're allowed more freedom of activity. And in maybe the northern states or some of the states that are more lockdown, that may not be the situation. But I have no idea. I really just don't know. But I would think that the interaction overall, no matter what is less, I'm sure they're trying to do as many things as they can virtually versus meeting in person, just to minimize their own exposure, because obviously it has such a catastrophic effect. It's it's not about how sick they're getting. It's about if they test positive, then and they spread it to 15 other guys who test positive. Then all of a sudden,
we saw a couple of outbreaks happen in the NFL and with teams, and had to shut down and do this, do that. But you don't want to put anybody in that situation, so you're obviously going to do what you're told. But at the same time, now that you're checking off that box as far as being safe, nobody's getting sick. But what else is you're losing something somewhere along the way,
right?
So now we have to sacrifice our face-to-face meeting time, to make sure that we have the opportunity to play.
Right. Well, next topic, and this one is one that has fueled people up, especially in the New York area, because of the Giants potentially getting in, and now not in the no longer the Washington Red. They are now the Washington Football Club, and the Washington Football Club getting into the playoffs. Pretty. The record is not great. None of those teams that would have gotten in had a good record. But the issue is, and I'll let you explain it best because you watched it. I just saw clips, and everybody in New York is going bonkers about this. But everybody feels that Doug Pederson basically threw I wouldn't say threw the game, just kind of packed it in. Didn't give themselves a chance to win by taking out Jalen Hurts, starting quarterback, and putting in Nate Soder, I think that's how you say it, in order to, what the New York Giants fans would say, eliminate their chance of winning that game. So then all of a sudden now the Giants, who won, beat the Cowboys. Oh, my Cowboys. By the way, on a different note, I got myself a Herschel Walker jersey. I told you this. I got myself Aikman jersey. Anyway, the old
school.
Yeah. Did they tank it? What's your opinion? And is there a problem with something like this in the I will almost say in within the game? Is there an issue with this? Because not just from a betting standpoint, you're manipulating things, in my opinion, right? Because if you think about it betting wise, if I know that Doug Pederson is going to try to not win that game, or if he sees that the game's potentially lost, he's just going to.
I'm going the other way.
I'm putting all my money, and so does that affect the odds? Does the odds makers know this is going on, or do they have an inkling of it? And does it give people leverage? And is that almost no different than stuff that Pete Rose did back in the day?
And that's what the whole conversation has been about. The whole day is basically, they're calling, Doug Pederson, Pete Rose, modern era. Look, now, obviously he didn't bet on the game. any way you want to look at
He
it,
doesn't have to bet on the game. His uncle could, his cousin knows he's going to
insider trading.
It's insider trading.
Any way you want to look at this, it's a very bad look. I mean, It is very bad. I mean, you're down by, you're basically down by it's a 1-score game going into the fourth, and you're in the fourth quarter with an opportunity to go down the field and probably, either tie it or win it. And you pull your starting quarterback for just some guy.
Right.
It's just a bad look. And then I think, the way he followed it up is, we needed to get a look at this guy and, the back of now look, had you said from Tuesday of last week that, this guy is going to be the starter, okay. But to pull your starting quarterback, I don't think it's I think it just, like I said, if I'm the NFL, I cannot be happy with that move because, look, you flex this game to that spot for prime time as far as whatever. You're trying to make something out of a bad situation as far as, look, the winner of this division is terrible as is. You know what I mean? You have teams that are going golfing this week that should be in the playoffs, but because, the winner of the division has to be in, that's the way we're working. But as far as Giants fans are concerned, you had your opportunity to take care of business weeks ago and you didn't do it. So
I agree with that.
You never want to leave it in the hands of somebody else. You don't want to leave it in the hands of another team. You don't want to leave it in the hands of a referee. No, just go take care of business, and that would sum all that up. Now, that being said, look, I don't know. Doug Pederson might be out of a job tomorrow. We don't know. This could have come from above him. Who knows? You know what I mean? The one thing I do know that is definite is that you can't tell players to go out there and lose. And the look on Jalen Hurts' face when the other quarterback was going in the game kind of told me all because he looked perplexed. Like, what are we doing?
And do you want to be a part of that organization? Do you want to play in that organization?
Exactly.
That's the case.
And that was a lot of the talk that I heard today was, does this ultimately negatively affect the Eagles as a franchise? Because are people going to want to go and play for the Eagles knowing this is something they did or something that they might do, And here's the other part is, the other justification was, we a better draft pick. All right. So now you're telling me, you're tanking to go from pick number 9 to pick number 6. It's not like you're tanking to go to number 1.
Yeah, that's the issue.
I don't know. I have a whole issue with the whole tanking thing to begin with. I understand. I understand it, and it might be good for some sports, but I just can't. You see it with baseball, with basket. For football, I just think for guys to go out there and put their bodies on the line, and we know how small of a window careers can be in the NFL.
Does a lottery change that? How the NBA does a lottery, and does that bring I'll use this as a good example, and this is probably clearer, by the way, if I'm speaking right into the mic like this. I feel like a late night radio host. You know what I mean? I'm doing it because there's things going on in the background. So, hold on. Not yet. I'm still doing my stuff. Okay. So what I was gonna say is, does a lottery change that in football? So,
I think it changes it, but I don't think it ultimately ends it.
Why wouldn't it end it? So let's say you took, how many teams are there in the NFL?
32.
32. Okay, so if you have 32 teams in the NFL,
everybody who doesn't make the playoffs, you put a bunch of ping pong balls in the thing.
What if you take the worst 10 records?
Take the worst 10 records.
Worst 8.
Now, how do you work it? The team with the worst record gets the most balls.
The bottom. I say you take the bottom third, right? Which would be like what? The worst 8, basically. Is that right?
Right. And the worst team in the league gets
25%. Worst 25%.
Right. And the worst team in the league gets more ping pong balls than everybody else, so that they have more opportunities.
Right. So what I would say is,
right. I still think you're going to have. I still think you'll have whatever happening. I think it lessens it because it's kind of like, look, it is what it is. And, we have the opportunity. Yeah, no, but I still think you're going to have people that are, I guess it would lessen it in the fact that, look, you wouldn't be able to be the Eagles yesterday and say, look, if we lose this game, we're going to get the 6th pick, right? Because you won't know where you're at.
So there's no guarantee. If there's no guarantee, even though you get more ping pong balls in there, if there's no guarantee, you're not going to throw it, right? So I don't know what the number is. Maybe it's top 4, maybe it's top 8, whatever the number is. Whatever that number is, that would eliminate some of it, and would it bring some more excitement to football? Meaning, like, if you were a player that was going to be drafted number 1 per se,
right? Because now you're not going to the worst team in the league.
You may not go to the worst team, but you may not go to the worst team, and then you have kind of a rule with those players is because we're going to do a lottery. There's no such thing as like what Eli did and what John Elway did years ago.
You don't control the narrative.
Right. They're not going to say, hey, I'm not going to sign with the team. You better trade. They put into, you come play in the NFL. We're going to do a lottery. Whoever you get. But there's no such thing as, I'm not going to play for that team or forcing team into a trade.
Right.
And
I think that makes a lot of sense.
I don't know.
I'd love to see it.
I mean, wouldn't that make it like, look, the NBA draft would be the most boring thing ever.
If it wasn't for ping pong balls.
If it wasn't for ping pong, right? Would the NFL draft be much more exciting? I think so. If you didn't know who was going to get the number 1 pick.
Would you just make it, and would it make the league more competitive?
It would make the league more competitive. And then, you could.
And now, ultimately, you can't really tank because if you want to tank, you could still be the 9th pick.
And you know what else would be really cool?
You'd have to maneuver free agency more so or sign it, your salary cap. You'd have to bring another player. You couldn't bank on saying, hey, look, we're going to get that number 1 pick. Let's go from there.
I'll give you another idea. What if, let's say the first round was, 1 through 8, whatever it ended up being, and then round 2 it swaps. Then 8 gets the 1, so on and so forth. So you'd have no tanking all the way through. So it'd go back, ping pong back and forth. So let's say you in a lottery got the first pick. And you in the lottery got the 8th pick. Round 2, you now have the first pick. The other guy has the 8th pick. And it ping pongs back and forth through the 7 rounds.
Only for that top 8.
Only for that top 8, which means that obviously if you're 4 or 5, you're just swimming between 4 and 5. But it would create some sort of parity in the sense that.
Unless you want to trade.
What's that?
Unless you want to work out some type of trade. You can
always do trades, but it would make some more maneuvering. I think it would make it even more exciting because then you would get.
Well, you'd have to be more of a savvy GM, and you'd have to make, you'd have to know that ins and outs and do that kind of stuff. Yeah, I think it would be great, but I think it would be. I'd be on board for that.
Something's going to come because
Goodell is not. He cannot be happy with this.
Right, and they were worried about the Jets doing it. And they look on the flip side, the Jets fans were furious that Adam Gase won. Look, I have respect for Adam Gase doing the best job he could do, no matter what. But the New York fans were losing their mind, right? Because they were locked to get Trevor Lawrence. If Trevor Lawrence goes number 1, we're going to be locked to get Trevor Lawrence. Now their fans are rooting for their teams to lose. You got players in the buy-in from that standpoint. We talked about that. That's a problem. And then what really happens is now over time, you have players that start to not like the city they're playing for because people want them to tank. Like think about it. I mean that's not good for fan relations. From that standpoint.
I can't see somebody wanting their team to lose, like maybe 1 year or 2, like, you know what I mean? But you don't want your team to consistently lose over and over again.
No, and I think that's a whole. So that's a whole nother issue that's going on from that standpoint. That I don't know how you, but that's one way to address it.
I think it's a great way to address it.
It's funny. I'm getting a call right now from one of my old coaches. He must be listening to listen to the podcast with the vacuum going on in the background.
Yeah, what's going on over there, dude? I feel like I'm in a spaceship.
House is getting clean, and that does not stop for anything that I want to do.
Apparently, I mean, damn. All right, well, at least I know where we stand.
Yep.
It was great. You did the amazing job of getting that done fast. That was awesome.
So so I think that's a change.
You're gonna have me on.
You ready to come on now for a couple minutes, and then you got to go.
No, tell me.
Now, you ready? Here's what we want to know, Troy. Okay. If you could go be the head coach of any of these 6 places.
Oh boy.
Okay?
I know
these 6 places. I'm going to give you the places. All right. One of them, I think I know the answer. But number 1 being the place you would go first. You're the head coach. You're telling all the players what to do. Come on in here so we can see you. You're telling the players what to do. And okay, yeah. Let's take a break.
Nice.
And who would you where would you go first? Okay, here are your choices. You ready? The Jets, the Lions, the Texans, the Falcons, the Chargers, or the Jaguars.
Of course, the Jets.
The Jets is number 1 where you would go first. Okay. So now you have left the Lions, the Chargers, the Texans, the Jaguars, or the Falcons. Jaguars number 2. Wow. He's almost as good as like the
Yeah,
pundits.
he's on. He's smart.
On. Okay, then now you got the Lions, the Texans. That's a cool one. The Falcons or the Chargers?
Chargers.
The Chargers, number 3. The guy's on point. See, what do you need? What do you need pundits for anymore? All you gotta do is ask a 5-year-old. Okay, and
Probably win for games that way.
I mean, we start picking plays, put it up on the board, and be like,
He's just not he's not overthinking anything. He's going off a whim.
we draw the pictures of the plays. You know,
We're good. Yeah, assign like a character to him. It's over.
And we average 300 yards of offense, and that's all you got to do. Okay, what do we have left? So we picked charge. Here's what we have left. We have Texans, Lions, and Falcons. Falcons, another. I mean, this is a slam dunk. Okay, what's left? Texans or Lions? Lions ahead of Texans. I think he listened to J.J. Watts. So Texans are last. He must have listened to what J.J. Watts said and determined that's not a good environment to be head coaching.
Plus, I don't think the Texans even have draft picks, dude. I don't think they have. I don't think they have salary cap room. They don't have a receiver on the roster because Fuller just got
GM issues too
for whatever. Yeah,
GM or was O'Brien the GM?
I think they're open GM as well. Like it's just not a There's just it's just brutal, man.
Brutal. And by the way, I think going forward, I'm going to get a little extension for this and use the
mic.
Yeah, like the mic.
You sound like you're a radio star right now.
Get really closer to Mike. I feel like a late night radio host. So, too bad. Our interaction with the fans today is light. Like I said, I guess
they can give you some feedback.
We get some feedback of the voice on this. The voice of WPAR late night radio with Coach Schuman and Coach D. Coach D, I got your mic. Is that the gift I'm gonna have to get you? One that you can talk into and
be interesting.
Yeah. So I mean, any other thoughts on the Doug Pederson thing? I mean, I just think it's tough, man. It's a tough deal. It's tough to if he was doing what he said he was doing, do you think that that's a lack of awareness, or to like as a spot to do that? Let's say like that he was like, you know what, this is a good time. We're not winning this. We're not doing. Let's try soda out. I don't know. Do you think that was just kind of like a poor read of what would go on? And our Philly fans, by the way, upset by it. I wasn't sure. I obviously I saw New York fans. Our Philly fans care because he helps them with a draft pick, right? Our Philly fans happy with it,
right? Because they go from 9 to 6,
right? So New York fans are mad.
I think the Carson Wentz situation is overshadowing a lot of this, to be honest.
Right.
I think him winning that Super Bowl a couple of years ago helps him to be able to make decisions like this and not get crushed. Had they not won that Super Bowl and he makes this decision, I think he's fired. I mean, look, Philly fans are some of the most passionate and football.
Carson Wentz is out too.
That's a whole different situation.
Are they drafted a quarterback then?
Listen, Carson Wentz wasn't even on the sideline yesterday. He didn't even
supposedly the relationship between him and Doug Pederson. I don't know what. Obviously, I mean, he replaced him.
How good is he? He didn't win in the Super Bowl.
No, that was Nick Foles. People are posting Nick Foles, the greatest quarterback in Philadelphia history. I think he played like 5.
Who has the opportunity to succeed? Who has a higher ceiling next season? Carson Wentz or Sam Darnold?
Higher ceiling? What do you mean by higher ceiling?
Like who can rise higher? Who can be more successful next year elsewhere?
I thought Carson Wentz is the bigger name. I think Sam Darnold showed some signs of some good things. I mean, I never thought he was amazing even in college. I thought he did have huge upside and that's why he was drafted so high. But I think he played. I mean, he doesn't have much around him per se. I think he played pretty well at times, and I don't think he was the cause of a lot of this stuff. I mean, I think, look, I don't know anything about Adam Gase other than he was supposed to be an offensive guru guy. And I think in New York, you can't start off on that like strange. I won't even call bad. It's not bad footing. It was just strange. That strange footing opened a door where he looked unsure of himself, even though I don't believe he is unsure of himself. But it looked to the New York public that you were unsure of yourself. People were making fun of, how his eyes were, and then he put a hat on. Like in New York, they're going to eat you alive for that. And maybe they would eat you alive anywhere for it. But New York, there's so much media that they're going to eat you alive for it. And I think that started off on a weird footing, and he took him a while to recover from that. And then the other thing that was a problem was the free safety from what's his name? He was their captain, and then he wanted out. He's now who am I thinking? You know who I'm thinking of? Free safety they had that they traded.
Collins.
No, Jets.
Oh yeah, El Presidente, Adams. Jamal Adams.
So Jamal Adams, in the midst of all this, wasn't going to give him a chance. Whether he was a Todd Bowles fan or whatever, or just
tons of money.
He wasn't going to give Adam Gase a chance. So then now that was at the time your defensive leaders. So now you had to try and find new defensive leadership. I think the mistake hire
Mosley opted out.
Right. And then I think the mistake hire, and I understand why it wasn't thought of as a mistake hire, but I just looked at what was going on when he was at the Browns. And I just thought at this fragile part of your team and the team that's losing, he's probably not the right fit, which was Greg Williams. So, okay, legendary coach, but
Passed them by.
maybe not. But the biggest part is that I think yes, but the short answer is yes. But I think the bigger issue is not even that did it pass him by. The bigger issue is the way that he runs his defense and controls the defense completely. And you have to let him have control as basically the other head coach. If you're building a program, does that fracture, especially as fragile as the Jets are, does that fracture things to a point where if things are going wrong, I think if things are going well, I think Williams is perfectly fine. Okay. Now I don't, like I said, but if things are not going well, it becomes more of an issue. It's magnified because you don't have someone that's your guy. Like he's not like Williams is older than him, has been around longer. I mean, it's not like he's going to go and be like, oh yeah, I'm going to listen to this guy. So, and the only avenue is when you had a big colossal failure, like that one failure, is to fire him, and bring him in to fire him. And then, he's the funny part, he's firing him, but he knows he's going to be fired himself. Right. So it's kind of like a whole mess. So, Sam Darnold, I don't think was the problem. I think Sam Darnold could potentially actually be a good quarterback in the NFL. And if he got good linemen around him, because Philadelphia has decent linemen around them, right?
Put Sam Darnold with the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Yeah,
who will be in line for a quarterback? Put him with the Indianapolis Colts, who will be in line for a quarterback. Put him on some of these teams who are, pseudo okay, and are just, they're not looking for, to go through the draft and that process. Like they're good now and just need a quarterback.
Do the Eagles?
What's their decision? Is 4 games enough to decide whether or not this guy is their guy?
Are the Eagles trying to get Jalen Hurts keep Jalen Hurts a quarterback? Or are they trying to draft him?
I think that he's going to have the opportunity to compete, but I wouldn't be surprised if they draft the BYU guy at number 6 if he's there.
Right now, it looks like in your crystal ball, Trevor Lawrence 1,
Fields 2.
Fields 2, and who will have 2?
Is the Jets.
The Jets are 2, so the Jets will take him at 2.
Or does Urban Meyer flip the whole switch, dude, and take Fields?
And
if Urban Meyer gets that Jags job,
I think you're watching this. I think you're watching this national championship game real closely. If you're Urban Meyer and you're getting Jags, if Fields
balls out,
and
somehow wins, he doesn't. I don't even think he has to win.
And is Mac Jones a steal in the late?
If you're the Pittsburgh Steelers, why do you not take that guy with your draft pick late in the round?
Same style, big, huge quarterback, huge.
And listen, there's something about, Alabama quarterbacks back in the day were just game managers, right? They just came in, they kind of, because they hand the ball off, they had such a good backfield. It was a ground and pound type of offense. Saban's opened it up in these last couple of years and has chucked the thing around. And it goes to show you, I mean, there's a reason that, we're probably going to see a wide receiver win the Heisman for the first time in a long time this year,
Who's the last wide receiver to win the Heisman? Do you know?
Desmond Howard? Oh,
I think you might be right on that one. Let me think. Reggie Bush is considered a running back. Tim Brown was before Desmond Howard. I can't think. I think you're right. Let's look it up.
It's normally a quarterback or a running back.
Let's see who's won it. Winners. Let's see if you're right. This would be a great trivia win for you. Great trivia win if you got this one. All right. We're going back here. Let's go. Let's see if we can get a little order here. All right, here we go. All right, you ready? Are you ready for it? Let's see what we got. So the last receiver winner
Give me the year.
was 1991
Oh yeah, it's him.
with 2,077 votes, 75.5% of the voting, which might have been one of the highest.
So 1991 is when.
Reggie Bush, who gave his back, had the highest, I think, with 91.
Yeah, it's that what happens.
He had to give it back.
Who was the number 2?
By the way, which I think is ridiculous. I think it's ridiculous he had to give that back, to be honest. Like, I mean,
He still has it.
half these Heisman Trophy winners were getting. Listen, the greatest. You got to rewatch SMU's The Pony Express. I mean,
The money.
Dickerson probably still has cash of half a mil sitting around from back in the day.
So 1991.
And 1991 was, you're correct, Desmond Howard. That's
what
fantastic.
year was my favorite player? One of my favorite players of all time, Charles Woodson.
Charles Woodson, which was a DB, maybe the
Last defensive player to win it.
Yes, because before him was. Let's see if we can name who the other defensive player was, if there was one. Charles Woodson, 1997. And by the way, it's way better if I sit closer to the mic. I don't like my angle of doing it, but it does sound better.
Now look, Charles Woodson did play some offense.
Yeah, but they did it more to help him win the Heisman. 1997 was Charles Woodson. The last defensive player before him, I don't even know. It has to be.
What year?
I mean, this guy must have been a two-way player. I don't know if that means he was defensive. This guy from Notre Dame, I never even heard of him. Leon Hart.
Yeah, by 1950s.
49. I don't see one. I mean, I'm assuming these guys are two-way players back then. A lot of these guys. So I don't. There is none. That's they list end. I'm assuming end was wide receiver in the 40s,
like a tight end.
Oh no, I think end was just like they only had like one end. You know what I'm saying? Like, it wasn't like that.
Different type of football, man.
Yeah, I mean.
Now I do look at some of these. You look at some of these names, and they're very interesting.
Of what's that, Heisman Trophy winners, or?
Yeah, when you're looking at the Heisman Trophy winners, 1998 winner might be one of my favorites.
Oh, Ricky Williams was great. Ron Dane out of New Jersey, 99.
2001.
Ron Dane had some great numbers too. 2001. Eric Crouch.
Yep.
He was good. I forgot Jason White won it. Is he a coach now, Jason White?
That's a great question.
Troy Smith. Where's Troy Smith now? From Ohio State.
He was the backup for the Ravens for a long time.
Was he? I didn't even know that.
Yeah, kind of like, look, so Troy Smith, backup for the Ravens. Robert Griffin III, backup for the Ravens. Lamar Jackson, starting quarterback for the Ravens.
I'm going back. See, Matt Leinart, he's an announcer. Carson Palmer, he's retired now, right?
Yeah. Sam Bradford might still be in the league.
I think he is. Chris Wanke.
Sam Bradford might have made the most money to never be a big name guy, but signed deal after deal after deal.
Well, he was a pretty big name when he came out, but yeah, it never materialized.
But look at Jameis Winston, backup.
I feel like they never gave him a chance the way he got hurt a lot, though. Chris Wanke is a coach. I wonder what Ron Dane.
Fired, I think.
What does Ron Dane do now? I wonder what Ron Dane does. I click on his Wikipedia, see what my man Ron Dane does. By the way, Ron Dane, this is
Mark Ingram. Oh, that's right. Remember because Mark, you look at all these dudes in the back. Remember because they did the Heisman backfield a couple years ago. Mark Ingram, Lamar Jackson, and Troy Smith, all in the backfield, were all Heisman Trophy winners.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
Oh no, I'm sorry. It wasn't Troy Smith. It was Robert Griffin.
Well, what about this?
Marcus Mariota, he's backup for the Raiders.
Ron Dane, I got to tell you this because it was my first year of
Johnny Manziel, my favorite.
It was one of my first years of
Barry Sanders, Tim Brown, Andre Ware, announcer.
Oh, I know what it was. So when I was a senior in high school, was it? Oh, I know what it was. I came back to watch one of my family members in the state track championships when I was in college.
Okay.
And they were raving about this discus thrower. And my father was like, this guy's going to Wisconsin. You got to go watch him throw. I said, okay, I'll go watch. I mean, he threw the shot put like 64 feet, which is really good. But like every once in a while, like there might have been one other person as good as him in the stage. So he threw the discus, honestly. And he was explaining, he's like, you got to watch him. He's not that tall. He's only 5'10", but he could dunk a basketball. What do you mean? Yes.
Like he threw it and it's still going?
Yes. He could dunk it. My father, this is how my father explained it, sold it to me. He's like, he's going to play running back for Wisconsin. He can dunk a basket. His coach came over and told me they could dunk a basketball from standing right underneath it and two-hand slam it at 5'10".
It's off just jump off. Just
jump straight up, 5'10", dunk it. Okay. And he's not like he's tall, you know what I mean?
Right.
He said he doesn't look overly built, but he's just unbelievably explosive. I go over to watch him throw the discus. He throws the discus. Okay, and they have a fence, and the back of the fence is like 210 feet or something, or 205 feet or something ridiculous throw. And the fence is somebody's backyard, but nobody ever throws it to the fence. Okay?
Yeah, this went through the window.
He threw it into the person's backyard. Okay? It threw the discus into the person's backyard. The person had to go, the guy who was like the official, he had to jump over the fence, pull the tape measure through the bottom of the fence into the person's backyard to measure the throw. It was like 220 feet or something. I don't know what the exact record is, but he's still this. Obviously, did they have it in here? Oh, I'm sorry, I'm wrong. He threw the fifth best discus throw ever by a U.S. high school athlete in high school, 216 feet 11 inches, and obviously it was the New Jersey record. Is that crazy? 216 feet. If he wanted to be,
oh God,
obviously he went to the NFL, made money. He was okay in the NFL. He wasn't that great, but he wasn't horrible. Right? He was okay. He played on. Did they win a Super Bowl when he was there? Might have.
No, they went to a Super Bowl.
Right. I mean, he was okay.
They lost to that crazy defense with the Ravens.
Right. But he
that one with Trent Dilfer.
If he wanted to, he could have probably had a chance to be literally an Olympian. Obviously, there's more money in the NFL, but he could have been an Olympian in that event, or had a chance if he trained to be an Olympian, because he just fired it out there. I was like, whoa. Over, and the whole place was like no one ever goes over by the shot put and discus.
No, nobody watches that.
Dude, there's a crowd to watch him. Like deep, like you couldn't see, to see the throw, because that's how famous he was.
Well, because you had to see it happen, because it was one of those things that's like, hey, you know what I mean? Like, you're probably never going to see this ever again, so you might want to go check it out.
You knew, and then he's going to Wisconsin, and it's no coincidence he wins a Heisman, because he was he's just a freak, just has things that nobody else has, so
right, tools. Yeah, I mean, tools
that nobody else. Pretty damn. It was pretty. I was like, wow. But anyway, so So that's that. Yeah, so who's your favorite Heisman Trophy winner of all time? Do you have a favorite?
Charles
I have a favorite. So
Charles Woodson.
Charles,
Not just because he was a DB. Like I always liked him from day one. I mean, I wore number 2 pseudo because he wore it. I just thought the fact that he was a DB, played some receiver, returned punts, he did a lot of stuff. You know what I mean? And then I liked him, throughout his entire career in the league and everything. He was always just a good player, smart player. He was one of the first guys to make that transition from corner to safety as he got up there in years. And continued to play at a high caliber, whether he was with the Raiders or the Packers, you know what I mean? Like he just did his thing. I love that. He was definitely, one of my top guys. Growing up, I loved Ricky Williams though. I mean, Eric Crouch was a big name for me. Eddie George was big. I loved him. And then as I got older, I really did like, I liked Johnny Manziel. I just liked that charisma and all that kind of the stuff that went with him. I mean, he went downhill a little bit, but just an interesting specimen. So he's probably, if you want to go the last 10 years, Manziel, but if you want to go deeper, those other guys were big time.
My favorite is Herschel Walker.
Yeah, I mean, I look back, I see those guys like they're older than me, so I don't really, you know what I mean? But I mean,
among the best, it's interesting because when you're looking at how old was I? 5, 6, or 6 years old? 6 years old. Obviously, I was in the football much more than most kids because at 6 years old I was watching these games.
Right.
So that's how I judge even my own kids' interest relative to where I was at that point.
We were involved from day one.
But what I think was interesting is like I remember watching Herschel Walker when he first played in that Tennessee game and just running guys over, like literally stomping on people's chests. And he had such an awkward style because he had no shiftiness really.
Right. He ran people over.
He was just outrun you like flat out, like Olympic speed. And then was like a train. So it was like so unique, I guess. You know what I mean? Like he wasn't making moves, but most of the guys who were like that Earl Campbell kind of style, like they weren't like Earl Campbell was fast, but he wasn't a bullet. Like they weren't bullets like Herschel Walker at 225 pounds. So it was so weird.
Right. He was a rarity in the fact that he could go.
Yeah. And I guess Bo Jackson was like that too, but Bo Jackson did have some moves. But yeah, he was just so flat out fast. Like it was just crazy. Okay, so there's been 3 Heisman Trophy winners. I don't know why they considered these guys from New Jersey because I don't think all of these guys are from New Jersey. And correct me if I'm wrong. Maybe they were born in New Jersey. That must be what it was. They were born in New Jersey.
Could be.
Born. That's what it is. Born. There's 3 Heisman Trophy winners that have been born in New Jersey. Okay, we already talked about one, Ron Dane. Can you name the other 2?
What
born
era?
In New Jersey. One's an era before you. He was a great player in college. Like I remember watching him too.
70s,
80s? Late 70s. He might have won his. Yeah, I think his was the late 70s, maybe early 80s. Maybe he's early 80s. I can't remember. He's either late 70s or early 80s. And then one is fairly recent.
Earl Campbell was back then. He's not a Jersey guy, is he?
No, he's Texas all the way.
Dorsett.
My guess is Dorsett is a Pennsylvania kid. He went to Pittsburgh.
I'm looking at some.
I'll give you a hint. His father played for the Giants.
His father played for the Giants.
Who was a receiver for the Giants?
Sims?
He played with Sims.
I don't know, bro.
Mark Ingram. His father was a receiver for the Giants.
Oh, that's right. Isn't he in jail?
I don't think they have like much of a. I'm not sure if they have a relationship or not. Something happened there, but yes, his father played for the Giants. And then the other one, I didn't know this. I don't know if I don't think he went to high school in New Jersey. I thought he was a Texas guy or something. But Mike Rozier, apparently Mike Rozier, who was Nebraska.
Oh, okay. See, that's your error too. I wouldn't know that.
Yeah, he might even. I'm trying to think what year he. Mike Rozier. Oh, I guess Mike Rozier was all right. Yeah, so Mike Rozier was 84. He was drafted, so it must have been 83 when he won the Heisman Trophy winner.
Yeah.
And you ready for this? He was a New Jersey kid. That's interesting. Guess where he went to high school?
Oh boy.
I'll give you a hint. Western Jersey.
Phillipsburg.
Southwestern Jersey.
Oh, okay. So it's one of those, like on what, like 100 in or something?
Way south of that.
Oh, we're talking like Delsey or something.
In that range.
So he's more like a PA kid.
Well,
Salem?
no, north of that, I think. When I say it, you're gonna know it. You're gonna be like, "Oh, I should have guessed this."
Private or public?
Public.
I don't know. Tell me.
Woodrow Wilson.
Oh, figures.
How about
There's a
that,
great
right?
documentary
Woodrow
on NFL Films on him, dude.
What's that?
There's a thing on NFL Films on that program and that head coach. You should watch it.
On Woodrow Wilson?
Yeah.
On Coach what's his name?
Brown.
Really?
Yeah.
New or
I'll see if I can. Yeah, it's got to be because it's this season
oh wow.
through COVID and everything. Like I'll see if I can get it and send it to you.
They didn't.
They didn't play that many games, but it goes through a lot of what was going on in the city and all that kind of stuff. There's a lot to it.
And they weren't normally. They're great, but they
Yes, they were, and it explains that. You know what I mean? Like,
he does so much with his kids that he probably couldn't do as much.
That's it
talk
talks
about that?
it talks about a lot of that.
Because for him,
for him to be around his guys is extremely important.
Right. I think
if he's not around them, what are they doing?
He, I give him a lot of credit for that. You know what I mean?
But it tells you his story too. How he came out of Camden.
Is he from Camden too, or no?
Yeah, he was he played at Marshall.
Played at Marshall. I wonder if he's from the same. He's a little younger than me. He's like more like your age, right? A little bit older.
Yeah, right around me.
He's in like 40
range. His story to get out of Camden, ultimately to come back. Like he bounced around, the NFL and teams and signing and this and that. And you know what I mean? Like going back and forth. I got to be able to find it. It's definitely on. It's in NFL Films, like behind the scenes type of thing. I found it on Facebook. I found it. And I meant to send it to you. I don't know why I didn't. Yeah, it was interesting.
That is, I'm trying to see why on Wikipedia they don't have him. I remember running against some of their alumni. They have some great alumni in college. I have high school in the high hurdles in Donovan Darius.
Here it is. First thing that pulled up. The Camden Comeback, it's called.
Camden Comeback.
For the easy way.
Yeah, I just went onto Facebook, go to NFL Films documentary series, and it was the first thing that popped up. It was posted on December 23rd, 2020. It's really good.
Interesting.
So that's something you got to check out because it's definitely warrants respect, in terms of that.
Yeah, no doubt. Wow. All right.
Yes,
cool. All right. Well, I think we covered a lot of great stuff on the show, and we realized that the closer
developing as we go along.
The closer you get to the microphone, the more you sound like a late night DJ.
The more I can hear you over a vacuum.
Do you hear me a lot? I bet you hear me a lot bit better when I talk into the mic too.
You actually look like the guys on the Michael K show when they do their Yes broadcast, because Yes teams does a. Oh
yeah, they got the
the simulcast. It's kind of funny.
That's funny. Everyone's all like close on it, like
yeah.
Yeah.
All right, brother.
All right, man. Have a great day.
Yes, sir. We'll talk to you soon.